We hope you all had a great holiday weekend. It's good to be back. And it's the Labor Day weekend, and in a presidential year, it traditionally marks the start of the final sprint to Election Day, now exactly 9 weeks away. The nominees made their way to two battleground states today. Trump was in Virginia and Clinton in Florida. Trump has taken the lead in a new national poll for the first time since the GOP convention. He tops Clinton by 2 points in the CNN ORC survey. The latest Fox News poll shows Clinton ahead by 2 points. So, folks, we've got ourselves a tight race right now. Over the long weekend, you might have noticed that Hillary got a bigger plane. That's because she's now allowing press to travel with her. But on day one, they certainly didn't press her very hard.
What do you think? I think it's pretty cool, don't you?
Are you glad to have all of us?
Amy, watch the camera. I am so happy to have all of you with me.
Have you missed us?
I've been just waiting for this moment.
How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was good.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm more than ready. Are you ready, Arun? Has Arun been taking good care of you?
Yeah,
Very good.
So they've been waiting for a chance to ask her questions, and they got a few that they wanted. Kimberly, you're a competitor. You got your sneakers laced up for this final sprint.
Exactly.
On the way to Election Day, just 9 weeks away. And we've said on the show that we think that the polls would tighten in September, as they usually do, and they certainly have.
Indeed they have. So, never a dull moment. We're still waiting for the October surprise with bated breath for the next 3 weeks. But, it's good to see Hillary Clinton out and about. Let's see. So now she's the captive audience, right, on the plane, and we'll see if we get some more questions answered. Obviously, a lot happening now with, the emails, the FBI release, while you were gone, Dana, the document dump on Friday. So a lot still to talk about and to go over, and just obviously some cause for concern within her camp and her circle regarding the numbers and the tightening, which you did predict.
Well, not just me, but that's just typically what happens in September. And so Trump, Eric, has been doing better. Hillary's been doing worse. And I guess what we've found out is that, remember when Bernie Sanders said to her in that first debate, nobody cares about your damn emails? And it was seen as like, oh, okay, now she's going to be able to get over the hump. He gave her the pass. But the truth is, people are caring about the emails, mostly because her trustworthy numbers are so far down in the dumps.
Yeah, but actually her numbers aren't going that far down. I think she only, in the CNN ORC poll, she only dipped a little bit. And it's Trump whose numbers are going higher, which is helping
close that gap.
Yeah, well, he's actually flipped it in the last four national polls. But he's doing it through the independents. 20% on that CNN poll, 20% lead in the independents over Hillary Clinton. That's huge. Trump versus Clinton as a leader, plus 6% Trump. On the same weekend, ISIS claims they have thousands of jihadists in Europe right now waiting to strike. Trump wins on fighting terror, up 6% in that as well. So my point here is that he has the enthusiasm, he has the engagement, he has the 88 military advisors, admirals and generals who signed on to his campaign today. And he also has now what seems to be a flip in the polls. I mean, it looks very good. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton's been ducking the media, fundraising in the Hamptons, and nagging a persistent cough. So it doesn't surprise me that he's flipped the script on her.
I guess we're going to get to talk about the so-called cough controversy in the next block, so you can stay tuned for that. Greg, Eric mentions enthusiasm, and in that poll, one of the things it shows is that for Democratic voters that are committed to voting for Hillary, that compared to previous years, they're not as enthusiastic about voting as they were for Obama. But Trump-committed voters are very enthusiastic by that same comparison. So maybe he's locked them up.
I think the enthusiasm for Trump is directly related to the hatred for Hillary. Whenever you talk to somebody about Trump, it's the first thing that comes out of their mouth is how much they hate Hillary. When you see what's going on on that plane, what you see is this kind of arrogance of familiarity. She's been around so long that she's somehow exempt from serious questions. It's like asking Mario Andretti how to change the oil. She's just kind of like, we're asking Stephen Hawking the square root of 36. For her, this is also beneath her. So like all those questions, it's like are the assumption that you're not supposed to really challenge me.
It's not all roses for Donald Trump. In some of the battleground states, Juan, you see that she continues to have a pretty good lead in some of those places. However, I would say we saw today the National Democratic Senatorial Committee is going to pull out of Ohio, which looks like the Republican Rob Portman is going to be able to win that state. which might be good for Trump, too.
Right. So the former governor, the Democrat, just doesn't seem to have it. And but the fact that they're pulling out Dana, I think, is a clear indication they think that he's going to win, that Portman's going to win. But I'm surprised that it's still a race in so many other states for Republicans. Pennsylvania, I thought Pat Toomey would pull away. That's not the case right now. You look at New Hampshire, Kelly Ayotte versus the governor, Margaret Hassan. And again, you just think, well, how much is Trump hurting down-ballot Republicans? Because the Republican National Committee is supporting Donald Trump. And I mean, if Trump's team has ground game anywhere, it's because the Republican National Committee is helping. He has not built an infrastructure for a campaign. So part of the talk right now is, yeah, look at the polls, but also consider the Electoral College and look at those swing states. Swing states often having Senate races in them. And boy, those swing states right now look to favor Clinton.
Hillary Clinton was asked about these poll numbers when they're not good for you. This is what she had to say about it.
Well, I really pay no attention to polls. When they're good for me, and there have been a lot of them that have been good for me recently, I don't pay attention. When they're, not so good, I don't pay attention. We are on a course that we are sticking with. We feel very good about where we are, but we're not taking anything for granted, and we're going to work every single minute.
I did think that, Kimberly, today that the Democrats might have been getting a little complacent in August when they saw the poll numbers with the wider gaps. Now that they're narrowing, it might kick them in the rear end.
Sure, a little bit of cause for concern, and then all of a sudden, Hillary has materialized. So let's see. I mean, I think she's going to have to really put in some face time, answer some questions, be present, because there's a lot of doubt in terms of credibility, honesty, integrity, in light of the email scandal and how this has developed and the rollout on that and on the Clinton Foundation. So she cannot be a candidate in hiding for whatever reason you might attribute the tightening, in the polls. And I think there are a variety of factors, both for and against her, that would suggest why some of this has tightened up. She's got to do something, but this isn't going to be easy. Warren said, too, this race is much closer than they would have thought already at this point.
And, Eric, she spent a ton of money on ads already. And
right.
It seems like traditional television ads are not having the same effect as they had in the past.
Yeah, so I wonder if the strategy is flawed. And so she stayed below the radar for August. She raised $145 million, doing a lot of high-profile fundraisers, a lot of celebrity fundraisers, raised a lot of money. And if they're not working, she's had some pretty what would seem to be effective ads recently, the last couple, but they're not. But it's not resonating, I guess, with the polling. Can I take a little bit of issue with what Juan said? I don't think Donald Trump is affecting, at least not Senate down ballot whatsoever. I mean, look at the big one: Portman, McCain, Rubio, Toomey, even Ayotte, and maybe one or two others. All the Republicans are at least ahead or actually ahead. Yeah.
No, that's not ahead. But you look at
but she's very, very close. All of those, though. As opposed to what establishment and left have said, well, if you elect Donald Trump and he doesn't win the presidency, you're going to lose the Senate. It's certainly not playing out that way as of right now.
Well, the odds still are right now Democrats capture the Senate. But I was going to point to you. New York Times just said it was 56%.
New York Times said it.
No, I mean, everybody.
Because I'm looking at these individual races, and that's not the case. They need to flip 5 seats.
Let me just speak for a second. I was going to say to you that actually one place where Trump has made gains that really surprised me is Wisconsin. I think he's gained like 10 points. But you look at a state like Wisconsin, and you look at Ron Johnson. Johnson, right now, running against former Senator Russ Feingold, Johnson's nowhere near, not in the race. And people, including Ayotte, Johnson, Toomey, what are they doing, Eric? They're staying away from Trump. They don't endorse Trump. They say, oh, I've got nothing to say about it, and it becomes fodder for the Democrat.
But given these Senate races, they don't flip the Senate.
Oh, yes, they do. Well, I'm just telling you, right now, it looks like they flipped the Senate. This is part of a larger thing where we're talking today about...
Based on a New York Times assessment of 56%
I'm just saying, you look
chance of it?
Well, you look at the people who do the statistical
44?
analysis of the odds. But I want to say 54, 56 is not what it was before, so your point's well taken.
Yeah, it's very close, and so no matter what, it's probably going to be, whoever has the majority it'll be like 51-49 at the end of the day, whether it's Republicans or Democrats.
But what strikes me, Dana, is that, like, for instance, in the Washington Post, I think Washington Post did a 50-state survey. Biggest surprise in the poll, Texas is even. Who would have thought? It's possible, but that's why it's because of Trump.
You
look at what the
Dallas
Morning News this morning had an endorsement or
not endorsement. Well, the Dallas Morning News, yeah.
Go ahead. You want to
Well, the Dallas Morning News today did an editorial, And for the first time since 1964, they have decided not to endorse, and their closing line was that Donald Trump does not deserve your vote. But I don't know if I don't know how the state-by-state polling that the Washington Post did. I just don't know how much stock to put in that. I think that Texas, if it's not close this time around in 2016, it will be closer by 2020. We know that because of demographics.
Well, you look at places like Georgia, you look at Arizona. See, that's the flip side of this is, remember,
but if Trump is able to get Wisconsin,
yeah,
I don't think
right?
he's going to have to get all of the swing states.
Yeah,
it is such a monumental
you yourself
test.
said Wisconsin.
I don't mind.
How about Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania hasn't gone red
He's
in
close right now in
8
Pennsylvania.
presidential cycles.
Right.
How about Ohio? They didn't win Ohio. The Republicans
He's ahead.
last time.
Trump's a little bit ahead.
And he's ahead in
so
Florida too.
So the good news is, Greg, that we have a race.
I'm sorry, I tuned out.
I figured, I could see it. You and Kimberly are like, I've totally lost you, and I've only been back for 8 minutes.
I mean, we're entering like the third act of the movie. You know, the scene in Jaws where it's just them and the shark and the boat. This is where we are. We've got like, it's the home stretch. And I think what really will move the polls are two things. The world. 2016 is the year that the universe screwed everything. I mean, there was bad news every time, and that affects the polls. It may not have anything to do with Trump or Hillary, because I do think that people have made up their minds about who they hate. And it's pretty equal on both sides. So I think what happens in the environment, in the world, will have an effect, and perhaps the debates. And I think the debates will also, you'll have two people to compare, and which one you like more, I don't know.
And I read today, Kimberly, there's only 5 to 6% undecided, so that in the next 63 days, both Trump and Hillary will be trying to convince 5 to 6% of the electorate to vote for them.
Like trying to grab the last 3 cocktail olives on the table. Yeah, and it's right, divide them up, try and split it. But that's the point. They should be focused on exactly who that is, the undecideds, and who they can shave points off. Because in a lot of these states, it's very close, and of course nationally as well.
You know, I think for most people, when they listen to this talk about polling, and they listen to the polls tightening, and they listen to the battleground, it's like when 2 AM radio stations overlap, and but you're hearing 2 different songs, but they may not be wrong, but they just happen to be at the same time, and it's like, she's got him beat on the battlegrounds, but he's closing the gap
on the national.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so interesting, and why they chose this block for us to do today.